Welcome to the crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can crochet this beautiful, very easy and simple, and of course quick, flower motif. Now I've actually used my flower in my Mother's Day flower frame. You can find all the details about how to complete all the parts of this frame over on my blog, including the printable so that you can just pop your bits on top. Now, before we get started and gather our materials, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on another of my crochet tutorials again. And of course, you can hit the notification bell to be made aware each time a new video goes live. Now, I am going to be using two different colours of DK weight yarn. And I'm going to be using a cotton blend, only because that's what I've got lying around. Cotton or a cotton blend will be absolutely perfect. So I'm going to be using this yellow and this contrasting orange. Now, as I mentioned, they are a DK weight yarn. So I'm going to be using a corresponding hook size of a size 4mm crochet hook. I also have a pair of scissors. And of course, to the other side, I have a darning needle. We're going to need those in a little bit because we have to change colours and fasten off. So get those materials and let's get started. We're going to be starting by making a slip knot and placing that onto our crochet hook. And very simply, we start by making a chain 4. So we yarn over and pull through. Do that again for you. So we yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're then going to slip stitch into the first chain that we made. So we just bring our hook all the way down to where our slip knot is and insert our hook under one part of the chain there, right next to that slip knot. We're going to slip stitch here to join it into creating a ring. So you just pull through and then straight through the loop on your hook. And this actually creates a ring. Now we need to make sure that we're going to work into the right bit of this ring. So you can see that there are 2 holes there. We are going to work into the one under that line. So it's going to be in, see if I can show you with the needles a little bit easier. So instead of working into that nice big hole that we can see just there, we want to work right into the middle there. You can shove your needle in and make that hole nice and big so you can see exactly what you're doing. But before we go any further, we're going to start on with row 1. So we need to do a chain 1 initially, and we are going to place a total of 15 half treble crochets, which is the UK term, or half double crochets, right into the middle of that ring. So we've done our chain 1. We're going to start by yarning over our hook and inserting underneath that line and into the middle of that ring. We're going to yarn over and bring a loop back through. Now you will notice that with my tail yarn, I'm holding that against that ring because I want to make sure that I can pull on that at the end and it will bring the hole in the middle a little bit smaller. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on my hook. So that's number 1. We're going to place, as I said, a total of 15 into the centre here. So yarn over again and go straight back into that same middle of the ring. Again, I'm holding my tail there, and so I'm working over that. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 3. That's number 2. Number 3, so yarn over the hook, insert the hook, yarn over, bring that loop back up, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So 1, 2, and 3. So go ahead and continue to place the remaining stitches into the centre of that ring. Should be nice and clear where you're working with. If you can, work over your tail yarn as well and do a total of 15. So I've just done number 11 and I'm beginning to run out of space. So I'm just literally pulling on the centre of the ring and bringing my stitches round. This is number 12. 13, 14, and number 15. So once you've completed your 15th half treble crochet or double crochet all the way around, we're going to slip stitch to the top of our first stitch that we made. So not into our chain one here, but into the top of the first stitch that we made. We're going to go underneath both loops. I would recommend that you double check your stitch count at this point. So we've just slip stitched into number 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and there's number 15. Absolutely perfect. So we're not going to fasten off just yet. I'm going to change colours. She says, where's the end? There we are. So I'm going to bring in my second colour. So all I've done at the moment is just slip stitch to join onto the top of the first half treble crochet from the first round. And to change colours, I'm simply taking my working yarn and kind of folding it and keeping the tail towards the back to create a loop. Just going to pop that loop on my hook and kind of securing it there just by pulling it through. And then I'm going to pull on the original colour just to tighten that down. I'm going to make sure I'm keeping hold of the working yarn and not the tail of the new colour. And I'm just going to chain 2. I'm not going to worry about how loose everything is at the moment because see how that loop got bigger? That's fine, it's not a problem. I'm just going to pull on that tail again just to bring it back down. So we need to work into the same stitch that we just joined to. So we're not working into this gap here, we're working here into the stitch that we slip stitched into. So we're going to yarn over and go straight into row 2. I'm going to work into that little hole under there. A little pawn, you can see where the hole is that we're working into. So yarn over and we're going to work into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into. Okay. Make sure you've got both loops of that stitch because I just dropped that. There we go. We're going to yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops. Okay. Just going to start back. So once we've reached the end of, we've done all 15 of our stitches, you can double check our stitch count. I'm going to take my hook out while I do that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. Remember this loop doesn't count as a stitch. So making sure that you've got 15 stitches all worked into the centre of that ring. We're going to join to the top of the first stitch that we made in this ring. I'm just going to bring that through and slip stitch to join. And then I'm going to fasten off by just snipping the working yarn on my first colour and pulling through. That would just secure that while we change colours into the next shade. So my contrasting shade, I think I've already showed you, I'm using a lovely bright orange because it shows up incredibly well against the yellow. And we're going to attach that yarn just where we finished off. So into that stitch underneath the slip stitch. So insert your hook where you just fastened off, so just in there. And just keep that tail this side of your hook. Grab your second colour and place it over your hook with the tail yarn away from you. I'm going to hold both strands just between my fingers there. Grab that loop and just guide it through with my hook. I'm going to grab just the working yarn. I'm going to yarn over the hook and I'm going to chain 2, and that is the start of row 2, round 2, I suppose. So the next part is that we're going to work into that same stitch that we've just joined that new colour into. And we're going to place a further 3 treble crochets into the exact same space. So we're going to insert our hook just where we changed colour. And I'm going to encourage you, of course, to hold your tails over and work around them and over them by when you bring that loop back up. Because we're doing a treble crochet or a double crochet in the US terms, we should have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops. Oops, I missed a bit. And then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So that's the first one. We're going to place another 2 into that same stitch. So each time we're just popping our hook back through where we just worked, yarning over, bringing another loop up, and complete that second treble crochet or double crochet in US terms. So we've got our chain 2, 1 and 2 trebles. So again, straight back into that same spot again, place a further half or a third half, a treble crochet. So this is the first half of one of our 5 petals that we're going to make. From this point, we're going to place a picot on the top of this petal. So to do that, we begin by chaining 3. Just bring that yarn straight through the loop on your hook 3 times, and then we insert the hook back into the first chain that we made and slip stitch to bring those together. And then we're going to work into that next stitch along. I'm still going to keep my tail yarns held against the side of my flower. So we yarn over the hook because we're going to mirror this side. So we begin by placing 3 treble crochets. So yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we do that a further 2 times always into the same stitch that we've worked into. So this is the 3rd time, just go straight back into that same stitch. So that places our 3 treble crochets or double crochets in the US terms. We are then going to match that chain 2 from the other side. So we chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch into that same stitch again, just to secure that down. There we go. I'll move my hook out of the way. You can see we've made our first petal. So we're going to slip stitch across the next 2 stitches, and then we are ready to start our next petal. So we start with a chain 2. We're then going to place 3 treble crochets into the same space, double crochets in US terms, all into the same stitch. That's number 2, and there's number 3. We're then going to picot, 1, 2, 3. So we chain 3, slip stitch into the first chain that we made, and then we're going to work into the next stitch by placing our 3 treble crochets, we're going to finish by chaining 2 to match the beginning of the other side of the petal, and we slip stitch into that same stitch again. We're then going to slip stitch across the next 2 stitches. That's 1, and that's 2. And we're ready to start petal number 3. As always, we start with that chain 2. We're then going to place 3 treble crochets all into the same stitch. One treble, 1 double, 2, and number 3. Going to create that point on our petal by chaining 3, and then we slip stitch into that first chain that we made. Then we make the other half of the petal into the next stitch. So we do the 3 treble crochets, and then to finish we chain 2 and slip stitch into the same stitch to complete petal number 3. So we're going to carry on and place your last 2 petals across the next 6 stitches, and I will meet you back when you've finished your last stitch. So remember to slip stitch across the next 2 stitches before starting petal number 4. And I'll meet you at the end. So I have just finished my final petal, and as you can see we have 1 stitch remaining which we just need to slip stitch into. So there is no yellow showing on this row. I'm also going to slip stitch just underneath that petal there just to complete that, and we are ready to fasten off. So I'm going to just place a little chain 1 there just to really put a nice knot in it, and cut using my hook to bring that loop through and pulling tight. Now before I pull this central ring tight, I'm going to bring my hook back through just to bring my tail through to the back. So all your tails should be on the wrong side. So as you can see all the pretty bits of your stitches, but the middle here is still pretty big, isn't it? So move those out of the way. This, if you've worked around your tail yarn on row 1, you will be able to simply pull it and cinch in the center of your flower. So all that's left to do is to weave in our ends. If you haven't woven in or you haven't worked around the middle of your tail yarn, it's absolutely fine. The other way to do it is just to weave around these stitches, and you can, that's how I'm going to weave my end in anyway, just to secure it. And again, you can pull on that and it will cinch in the middle of that flower. Doing this through a camera so I can't quite see where. There we are. Just weave that in a few times, and of course if you haven't worked around your tail, you will need to weave that in. Once you're happy, you can just snip that end, and then you just need to weave in the remaining ends. I'm trying to think, I worked over that one, didn't I? So I can just snip those. That's why I always work over them when I can. I mean, this isn't going anywhere, this project, so apart from in a photo frame, so I don't need to be too exact with my ends on this project. But I am going to secure them. enough. And there we have our very simple and easy but incredibly pretty flower. I really hope that you've enjoyed making your very own flower. Don't forget that you can check out any of my other crochet tutorials where you can make some leaves to go with your flower. Or of course you can go ahead and complete your own Mother's Day flower frame too. Thank you so much for joining me today for our crochet tutorial. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and of course give this pattern a thumbs up if you've enjoyed making your flower. And I'll see you again soon.